Hey everybody, welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV that we watch. I'm Daniel, and you have stumbled into another supercut. If you're not familiar with the concept, a supercut is where we take our conversations about a specific show that play out over the course of several podcast episodes and smash them all into one long supercut episode all about that show in particular. And this week we're talking all about Marvel's Agatha All Along. We got our conversation started in episode 82, Down the Witch's Road.
Down, 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 down the witch's down, 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 down the witch's road. Instant certified banger.
It was good.
So with that, shall we get into Agatha?
Yeah, so Agatha, or Agatha All Along, I guess is the technical title of the show.
It was Agatha.
First
all
two episodes,
along.
Disney Plus. I kind of see this almost as like season 2 of WandaVision. Kind of a weird way.
A different take.
Yeah.
I love it so far. Love it. Love it. It is coming out the perfect time of year.
Yes.
Because it gets that little spooky vibes. And I know the finale is supposed to air on Halloween, October 31st. I'm pretty sure that's what somebody said. So, I don't know. They kept changing what day. We didn't know what, wasn't it really supposed to air one day and then they pushed it?
I don't know anymore. I don't know when stuff comes out anymore, to be
I'm pretty
honest.
sure I read that if it's not the 31st, it's at least that week of Halloween. So I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
I loved WandaVision. It's still one of my, I'd still put definitely Loki as my number one, but I would probably put WandaVision as my number two, like Marvel, Disney Plus shows. And this is just, it's just giving. I love, obviously, why am I blanking on her name? Who plays Agatha? Kathryn Hahn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And I love her. I love the cast. Aubrey Plaza's in it. Patti LuPone is in it. You didn't know who Patti LuPone was.
Yeah, you had to explain that to me.
Which I think is insane.
I am uncultured.
She is the legend, the icon, the moment. And I remember watching like a trailer for WandaVision. I'm like, that looks like Patti LuPone. And then I'll be honest with you guys, I listened to the Disney Parks updates at D23, but because it was right during the Olympics and I love the Olympics, I didn't really watch a lot of the coverage. So I think they already sang that song, or maybe if they...
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it was never actually released so everybody could see it, or it was, and I just, again, wasn't paying attention. But, like, I saw her show up in the episode, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, that actually is Patti LuPone. Because I had seen a brief preview where it looked like her. But I was like, why would Patti LuPone do a Marvel show? And she herself, we just watched an interview with her, and she's like, yeah, I've never seen any Marvel movies. Except she did watch WandaVision, the season 3 times.
I think a lot more people, I think a lot of people get, like, really up in arms about that stuff, but I'm going to venture a guess that a lot of actors do not watch like 99% of what's out there.
She watched WandaVision so she could prepare.
To kind of prepare, but like...
She's Patti LuPone. She can do whatever she wants, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like, I don't blame them. Like, they come in, they do the role. It's their job. It's a day job. It's a different kind of day job.
What does Zendaya say? Well, I think it's our jobs.
Yeah, it's a different kind of day job than everybody else has, but at the end of the day, like, I think sometimes when you go to the Comic Cons or you see interviews on TV and people ask these, like, in-depth questions about the subject matter, that's not what most of these actors are not there for that.
Well, a lot of, like, the rewatch podcasts, they're watching those shows even though they were in the shows for the first time. I don't think I'd want to watch myself on TV. I think that'd be weird. I'd be very critical.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, this podcast, it took me a long time to be able to sit and edit this thing after, we record it and then we edit it, to be able to just listen to it objectively without, like, cringing every time I speak. So I can imagine what it would be like seeing yourself on screen and doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think it would be really hard.
Meanwhile, I'm like the Naja doll. I'll forget what I said when we're listening back. Naja doll, go watch What We Do in the Shadows. And she got the little Naja doll, and she'll like, she says something. And then Naja, like, I agree with that. But, like, I'll forget what I said something. I'll be like, no, I should have said XYZ, and then I do say it. It's like
I don't listen to this podcast very much outside of what the work I have to put in on it. But you do, and so occasionally we'll be like in the car and you'll turn it on, and she'll, folks, I'm telling you seriously, she'll just be sitting there talking to herself, like a past version of herself. She'll be like, oh, she's got a great point there, or blah blah blah, and it's like, you recorded it.
And we wonder why I like spooky shows and weirdness like Agatha. I thought the first episode, this is where we're going to get into some spoilers, so go to the next chapter if you don't want to stick around for that. I thought the first episode was great because we all had like the different, in WandaVision, if you guys watched that, we all had, like Wanda, like sitcom level Wanda, like from like the 40s or the 50s. So this is Westview Agatha, and she is envisioning herself as like a true crime kind of true detective. I got Sandra Bullock, Miss Congeniality cop vibes from the way she had her hair and kind of her attitude. And it opens with them finding a body. Yeah. And we definitely know like the body was Wanda. But then it kind of unravels. You realize that like Agatha's just been crazy. That's her personality of the week. And they're like, oh, you've been in a really big like true crime thing. So along the way, Aubrey Plaza's character shows up, who's clearly a past witch, possibly lover. Lover.
There's no question. There's no question.
Absolutely. And
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm
here for it
too.
Every single second of it.
I feel like while we've had hot people in Marvel movies, Marvel is missing some of like the sexy. That scene where Aubrey Plaza licked Agatha's hand, that was sexy.
Yes.
And yeah, so her character shows up and is like, she's appearing as kind of like another cop or detective or something in this, like, because Agatha's still under the spell.
Yeah.
She's still, because when you leave WandaVision, basically Wanda curses Agatha to live as like the nosy neighbor, but I guess she's just evolved and taken on different personalities. And then this strange boy who they called the Teen shows up, and you think Agatha's going to like apprehend him, take him to jail, but then they start, I feel like both them and Aubrey Plaza kind of together were working to get her out of that spell. I'm a little fuzzy on that.
Certainly Aubrey Plaza's character knows that she's under a spell and she's trying to break her out of that. Yeah. I'm not sure what the kids
coincidence.
Yeah, what the kids' play is here, but he certainly was. We find out later in the second episode, like he certainly knows about witches and knows about the road that they're trying to travel. So I wonder if I don't know that they were working together. Of course, that could be a stinger we find out later, but he certainly was trying maybe to break her out of something as well.
Trying to find Agatha. So they eventually break her out of this spell, and she comes like storming out of her house. Like, how many years has it been? I think they said it's been like 3 years since the events of WandaVision, and that's where she meets the one neighbor who we saw in WandaVision. He's like this week it was is true detective, true crime. And I loved when she's in her house and she's still kind of coming to the reality, like, oh my gosh, I've been trapped in this world, look what Wanda did to me. And you see her sitting down, because the opening shot was her driving a car. Using air quotes. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, okay, this isn't a car. Got it. And it was just like, that's how like crazy she is. Yeah. And I guess I didn't realize, I don't know about you, that we'd be seeing so many like side characters from WandaVision. Like,
yeah, they brought a lot of people back.
Like a lot of people. I don't remember all their names, but I'm like, oh, that was kind of the mean neighbor. The one guy that worked at like the factory with Vision, or I don't know, whatever he worked for, his company. He was there. The guy that she was envisioning as the police chief was there. So, and then of course, Kitty, I don't know what's her name in the show?
I don't know.
We just call her Kitty Foreman. She's there, and she seems like she's going to play a pretty big role.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of out of Westview after the first two episodes, and she's still with the group, so I think she's going to be there for a while. I did see something interesting on TV, or on TikTok, an interesting theory.
Yes.
And I want to make sure if this is true, everybody, this is super spoilers for the show.
Don't ruin it for me.
You don't want me to tell you?
What is it?
You never see her and Aubrey Plaza's character on scene at the same time.
That's true, because Aubrey Plaza's character is one of the witches trying to get in the house when they're singing, and she's down.
Yeah.
No, see, I just want her to, I was just hoping, I don't want that to be true, because I just feel like she was wanting a girls' night, and they started singing the Witch's Road song, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to vibe with this, and I hope somehow she doesn't get killed.
I don't think she'll be killed, but I think there is a chance that she might be Aubrey Plaza, like, in disguise.
If that happens and that turns out to be true, just like when you accidentally told me the entire plot of Rise of Skywalker, and then I looked at you partway through the movie and you were like, I thought it was a joke, I'm gonna make you drink a whole entire one of these, not dirty sodas. This Oreo Coke Zero. Which, by the way, guys, still bad taste in my mouth right now.
To be fair, the plot that I gave you for episode 9 seemed so infeasible that it just had to be fake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Agatha. I feel like since we got both episodes are kind of blending together for me.
Yeah.
But once she kind of gets her memories back, it's on. So we got to recruit. We got get a new coven.
Yeah.
And that's where we see Patti LuPone as one of the witches. They sing, and you know why that sounds so good, right? The people that wrote like the music from Frozen, which regardless what you think of the movie, Frozen, certified bangers. Come on.
Just let it go.
Let it go. They did the music for this. Do you think we're going to get more music in Agatha? I certainly hope
it
so.
certainly seems sing-songy, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, to everybody, well, which is Daniel and Marvin, that's been around me over the weekend, that's all I've been singing. It's just the same part of the Witch's Road song.
Like now that I know who Patti LuPone is,
you love her,
for the
right?
whole 5 seconds that I've known,
Yes.
do you bring her on just for one song?
No.
Okay.
I think she's amazing. You like her now, though, right?
Yeah.
I aspire to just have Patti LuPone energy in life because she's so fun. Now, also possible spoilery, we know that Agatha, and this is true in the comics, she has a son named Nicholas Scratch. I believe we got to see a version of Nicholas Scratch in that Sabrina show that we watched on Netflix because that's what one of his names was. So and we see like some plaques that says Nicholas Scratch on it. That being said, I'm with the other theory that the teen, I don't think he's Nicholas Scratch. I think he might know Nicholas Scratch. I think that somehow some magic happened, and that, in fact, is Billy Maximoff. What do you think? Wanda's son.
I'm 100% with you there. I
would rather it be Billy, too.
Yes, I would rather it be that. And that leads me to my question for you, which is percentage chance Wanda shows up in this episode, in this show, by the end.
By the end? Very high. I'm going with like a 92%.
Put a percentage on it.
92%.
I'm going 100.
Yeah, see, I'm being cautiously optimistic because, listen to me. This is why. Look at my shirt right now, Daniel. What does my shirt say? It says
Believe, yeah.
What did they say on Ted Lasso? Hope hurts. I love Wanda so much, and I was so heartbroken when they were like, this is the last of Wanda. What was it, in the Doctor Strange movie? Wanda is like my favorite like female Marvel character, probably I'd say Loki. I go Loki, Bucky Barnes, Wanda. They're my top 3. Like I like all the gray area characters. Thank you. And then Captain America number 4. So I want to see her back so bad, but I've got to do the 92% to prepare myself for the smidge of disappointment that they might not show her. But I think it's looking pretty good that we're going to see
I
her.
don't think there's any chance she doesn't show up. Speaking of Bucky Barnes, by the way, did you see that the Thunderbolts trailer dropped today?
I did not.
We'll have to watch that after
that
we're
must
done.
be why TikTok was showing me a lot of Bucky Barnes edits to like Sabrina Carpenter songs, which I did linger on, I'll say. I did linger on it.
You lingered, okay.
I love me some Bucky Barnes. But yeah, I really like Agatha. I think it's great so far. It's the perfect show for, like I said, for this time of year. I almost wish they had given me the whole season at once, but it's something definitely to look forward to. I think it's going to be funny. I think it's going to be sexy, like we said. And I think it's like you said, it's going to have that WandaVision weirdness vibe, but kind of a different spin.
Yeah. And folks, I would savor this one. I don't think there are any more Marvel shows that we are aware of in production at the moment. And I know that with things going on over at Marvel and Disney right now, they've kind of pumped the brakes a little bit for better or for worse. And that's a conversation for a whole other episode of the podcast. This might be the last Marvel show we get for a while.
That being said, I hope that we do get a season 2 of this and that haters don't go the way of the Acolyte.
Yeah.
What did I see? Some comment, and I'm like, that's exactly right. We watched men get all excited over the summer for Deadpool with, shirtless Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, and yet people are like, oh my gosh, with like a possible Agatha.
Ladies can't kiss other
yeah.
ladies. Oh, my stars.
And it's like, just let people enjoy things.
Yeah.
We continued in episode 83 on the other side of it.
Agatha All Along. This is the 3rd episode of the season?
Yes, we just watched the 3rd episode, and I am loving it. Loving it. This episode was a little sad, though.
Yeah.
So we lost, again, spoiler alert, at the end of the episode, we lost our beloved Sharon, played by Deborah Jo Rupp. Deborah Jo Rupp. I cannot talk today. So basically, they're on the Witch's Road. That's where we picked up. They have their first, I guess, it seems like they're having like quests. Or
tests or trials or some sort of like thing they have to go through. And it seems like each test is going to be towards one of the witches. So this test was for the potions witch.
But obviously it impacted all of them because they were all having hallucinations. I called this test kind of like the women wine club, like suburban or upper middle class women wine club, because suddenly they go into this fancy house and then they're all wearing just like those like outfits that you would see like wine club or like, you know, middle-aged women out to brunch. And Deborah Jo Rupp made the her character Sharon about how she could die in the kitchen. I'm pretty sure she said that, and then she did die, so that was a bummer. So one of the potions they had to do, they all drank this wine, and then they would hallucinate like their fears.
Yeah.
So we see Agatha, her fear is like the Book of the Damned, I think that's what it's called, and supposedly she traded her son, Nicholas Scratch, for this book. Now, I think they're leaning hard into it that the teen could be Nicholas Scratch, but I don't think he's Nicholas Scratch.
I don't think that's what they're doing.
I'm still going with Billy Maximus.
Yeah.
Even though we know that he has, again, Funko Pop, if you guys pay attention to those, absolutely spoiled characters. He's credited as the Wiccan on his Funko. And Rio, Rio Grande, Rio Aubrey Plaza's character, she has been, so definitely, cover your ears for a second, Funko is calling her Death.
Heck yeah.
Which we had heard rumors.
Yeah, finally.
We had heard rumors that Death might be in this show. So
not a more perfect actor for the role. I now know why the Thanos of the comic books was willing to go through what he went through. Because his motivation in the comic books was different than what it was in
so Thanos was he like Death?
No, Thanos wanted to snap everybody away to impress Death because he had a crush on her.
But in the comic books, doesn't Death and Deadpool date?
Yes.
Because everybody thought that his girlfriend in Deadpool was going to be Death. I remember people said it for like years.
People were vying for her, and now I see why. Totally get it.
It makes more sense. So do we think that she killed Nicholas Scratch? I think they had a relationship. I think they've hooked up, but I also think there's something with that whole like tradesies things. What do you think?
Aubrey Plaza's character?
Yeah, Death. Do we think that she had something to do with the one that possibly Agatha made the trade to? What do you think?
I don't know.
I think she's going to show up. I think she might even show up in the form of Sharon at some point. Some people thought that. I think that could happen later because I do think Sharon is dead. They said if you're not a witch, you can't make it down the witch's road.
Well, I think it was interesting too. One thing that I saw on TikTok they noted was when they were making the potion,
the hair.
One thing they had to do was take a hair, and they did not get her.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's why that's
like was that
happened.
A mistake? Was that intentional? Because the whole hair thing was like the last minute. Somebody else, bless TikTok, posted a clip from WandaVision where the little boys, Wanda's children, were saying like, "Mommy, you can do anything. You can do anything. You can bring people back from the dead," or something. Like they said something to that effect. And you saw Agatha. This is before we knew who that she was really villainy. She was like, "Really? Can you?" People have been pointing that out. Do we think Agatha's actually gone down the witch's road like she has claimed, or do you think she's full of it?
That is unclear to me at this time because she's definitely like, I don't know. Well, first of all, wouldn't she have had to have another group of witches to go down it with her? Because it seems like you have to, like the whole way they got in there was by gathering the group up.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's a good question that
She was trying to get away with not drinking the wine at first too. And then it just appeared and they like made her do it.
I don't, she's being very evasive about a lot of things. And I'm wondering if you're right, if one of them is she's never actually been down here before.
I just feel really bad because all Sharon wanted to do was have a girls' night. And then right before she died, because they were each hallucinating their fears, and I remembered this from WandaVision, that episode where her husband started to choke, and she's like, "Wanda, please, please stop, stop, stop." So that's like the last thing she saw. That's so sad.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, like she's dead. And then the credits go into Off With Your Head. Like, what a banger. Like, these post-credits have had just absolute bangers. And supposedly we're going to lose, I think, 2 other people. Do we think we're going to... I hope we don't lose Patti LuPone's character.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I heard that episode 5 is where stuff really goes bananas.
Do we know how many episodes there are in the season?
No,
Okay.
but I know that the last
we don't.
episode, it was originally supposed to be on the 31st, but it's going to be on the 30th, the finale episode, which
Okay.
I think will be perfect for Halloween. So do you think that you don't think he's Nicholas Scratch? Do we think he knows Nicholas Scratch? Do we think he's... Obviously, somebody's put a test on him so no one can hear who he is.
Well, so the way they framed it in the episode was that it was a protection. I can't remember the exact phrase they used. And so you have to wonder if it's something some residual Wanda magic that's preventing them from knowing who he is. I don't know.
Now, I screenshotted this thing before we started this episode, and I just felt like it was really important to point out. So I don't know who this person is that tweeted this, but basically the MCU, the direct Twitter account, has said that Agatha All Along is being review bombed on IMDb, receiving many 1-star ratings from users criticizing the series. And her response to this, which has gotten a lot of likes and retweets, I absolutely agree with. 1, it's women-centered. It is about powerful women.
Yeah.
2, it is about accommodating to the LGBTQ plus audience.
Of course.
And 3, it is inclusive of diverse characters who aren't just side characters but main characters. And then this user says, incels cannot fathom powerful women who are funny without needing men to be involved. As the white man in the room, what do you think about that comment?
I agree. Like I've never hated something so much that I felt the need to go write a bad review about it. I like when I like a thing, I have liked something so much that I've gone and written a review on the internet about it. But I have never disliked something so much, been so offended by something that I went and wrote on the internet about it. It's just like, oh, that's not for me. But that doesn't mean it's not for some other people.
I didn't even give How I Met Your Mother a bad review, and that finale was like absolute trash.
Everything comes back to that.
Yes.
So I don't. Are Marvel fans getting as bad as Star Wars fans?
I think Marvel fans might be worse in some areas. I guess Star Wars fans have been bad for a while when you consider the bullying in that fandom.
Yeah.
But I think I think a lot of Marvel fans, we had a lot of peace and togetherness. And then when they started telling different stories in the next phase that did feature more women, more inclusivity, like I think that just some people don't like it and they won't admit as to why. I am loving Agatha. It's checking all the boxes. Is it like, as good or the same as Endgame? No, it's just a totally different vibe.
Well, that's not. But that's the thing. It's like they're not trying to tell Endgame, and I think, and this has been a problem Marvel has had ever since Endgame. Is that everybody's expectations have been, well, this is the next Endgame, and it's like, no, it's not. Like
even before that,
it's never the plan.
People really had a problem with Captain Marvel. I do think there's a degree of sexism that goes into it with female leads.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all. Although I will say the first Captain Marvel movie got over $1 billion. But then the second one that came out here just recently, bombed hard. So something has changed since Endgame for Marvel, and I don't know what it is. But I certainly agree with you that for shows like Agatha, for Ms. Marvel, and some of the other ones, that stuff absolutely plays a role.
And some people won't even give it a chance. That's what's so infuriating to me. Ms. Marvel's a perfect example. We thought it might be too almost kid-like when we watched the first episode, but then we really got into the story.
Yeah.
And that actress, she's great that played Ms. Marvel. So I think some people, it's not that serious. Let's just call it. We're on the other side of it.
There you go. There you go.
More conversation about Agatha All Along took place in episode 84, One Ship to Doom Them All.
Okay, let's get into some shows now
All
because I can't. I'm just chomping at the bit here. Agatha All Alone, once again.
Episode 4 of the season.
Episode 4. Thank you. My show notes are very good today.
They are. They're very descriptive.
They're very descriptive. Knocked it out of the park. I didn't think that I would continue singing Down the Witch's Road, and then they hit me with a Fleetwood Mac 70s style type cover. I'm just that is cinema. The costumes, the fire coming up behind them, the lyrics, if I can't reach you, let my song teach you. Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road.
This is my life for the past, week now, has just been this.
Well, I kind of let up singing it.
Yes.
And then they brought it back into our lives. What did you say?
What?
What?
I said thankfully.
I think there's spells in the songs. Like, it's just like an earworm. You know that you're singing it in your head. You're just not singing it out loud.
I've been singing old Tom Bombadil all week.
We'll get to that later. And you actually had me humming that in the shower the other day. But then thankfully Agatha rushed back in. So Agatha, just perfection. I think I'm going to call it right now. I loved WandaVision. I love Loki. This is definitely in my 3, maybe even 2 slot. That's how much I like Agatha. I don't know if you like it as much, but what do you think?
I still have Loki number 1 right now. Of course, we have to see how this goes, but
yeah.
I think that this is definitely getting up there with WandaVision for me. I think I'm very interested in Aubrey Plaza's character, not just for the reasons that you all think. Rio, because, of course, I'm not going to say the spoilers we know from things that haven't happened yet on the show, because I don't think that's fair.
We said it last week.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, never mind then.
We said, cover your ears. Okay, we won't say it this week. Go last week.
Right, but so even if we didn't know those spoilers by this episode, we know something's up.
Funko Pop, if you guys are interested, go look up the Funko Pop Agatha toys. I did not look it up. It just came up on TikTok because my TikTok is almost all Agatha right now. And they kind of gave away who her character is, which we did We did a cover your ears. Here's another spoiler thing last week, but we'll go ahead and not say it this week. We'll just make things complicated.
So who her character really is.
I think I would have figured it out by now.
I think, yeah. So they gave us 2 things. They gave us a lot more insight into the relationship that her and Catherine Hahn's character, Agatha, were in. But they also gave us insight into who this teen is, and specifically, it is not Catherine. It is not Agatha. I want to keep calling her Catherine Hahn instead of Agatha, and I don't understand that. But it's not Agatha's. It is not Agatha's son, and Rio tells her that, and we believe her.
Yes, and we also, again, last week we did say we said cover your ears. We totally talked about the Funko spoilers.
Well, we're not going to spoil it this week because if we're anything, we're consistently inconsistent.
We have concepts of a plan.
So what do you think of all this? This was a big episode, I thought.
Like I said, I just loved it. I got another cover that I've been playing literally on a loop, on repeat.
Beyond the earworm music.
I think it's great. Like, I think if I hadn't seen the Funko spoilers, knowing just from the conversation surrounding the season, I would have pretty much figured out. I think they really heavily indicated the clue with Rio. And then, like you said, we got more insight into their relationship. She said, I have a scar. I'm your scar.
Yeah.
So we definitely I think the theory goes that it has something to do with Agatha's son, the sacrifice she made with her son, Nicholas Scratch. And there is a connection with that relationship. And then Agatha thinks I think Agatha did think briefly that teen was Nicholas Scratch, and Rio kind of confirms, like, hey, that's not your son.
Yeah.
So they really, I think we're leaning to make people think that, but I think I would be honestly stunned if he is not Billy Maximus at the end. Like, if they did something different, I would be shocked.
Do you think she thought he was her son or wished?
Could be both.
Yeah.
Could be both. I think she felt a connection to him, but I mean, that connection might be there for other reasons if it is Billy. Now, those Funko spoilers don't come right out and say Billy Maximus.
No, they don't. They use.
I will say that.
Yeah, they use a comic book name. So if you're not familiar with all that stuff, that's probably not that big of a spoiler.
I think we knew that there were supposed to be some of the other witches aren't going to make it down the road. We've already lost R.I.P. Mrs. Hart. That's what she says again. Agatha is so unserious at times, and then other times she is. I think Alice is not going to be making it out, but we found out that Alice, did have the generational curse, and we found out that Lorna's version of Witch's Road was actually done and sung all around the world because she made it into a protection spell. So I'll see you at the end. I think that Alice will not make it, but I do believe that they will reunite. We will get to see her reunited with her mother at the end of the Witch's Road. Yeah,
for sure. I think that's what that's got to be what that is for. Hopefully she gets her chance to, go out in a blaze. So
I love Patti LuPone, once again, her character just knocked out. Oh, great, there's fire now. That scene. Just knocking out of the park. I know she has a big episode coming up just based on pictures and screen grabs that I've seen. I really noticed some details, and then it took my nephew actually sent me some TikToks on this. There was a like kind of a broken record, and like that was like for their next test where they performed the banger Fleetwood Mac style song. Very much gave Stevie Nicks vibes, but it said something like redheaded woman or some reference that we know has got to be towards Wanda. Do you think we are seeing Wanda? Do you think like we will see? I guess my question is, I think we're going to see Wanda regardless, but do you think Elizabeth Olsen specifically filmed new scenes, or do you think we're just going to see flashback clips of Wanda that we have already had?
I do not think she filmed new scenes for this show.
I'm going to agree with you.
But I do think that the Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, will
Yes.
show up in this show at the end to show that she is not dead.
Yes.
But I don't think it will be anything new. I think that probably what they've got enough footage from enough
Yes.
different places that they'll be able to pull something together as like a quick little 5-second
Yeah.
teaser at the end.
Well, with all, like, this isn't the first time, by the way, that toys have spoiled stuff, like the Funkos. But there have been other leaks that I have seen, and I feel like if she totally actually came on set and filmed new stuff, I feel like we might have known that, but I don't know.
I think so.
I did hear that episode 5, which is the episode coming up tomorrow night, that is the one that is just bananas. I hear that's the one that's crazy. And I'm like, and they're like, if you're not into the show, you're going to be into it by episode 5. And I'm like, I'm already like way deep into the show. I'm ready for more covers of the songs. I'm ready for more music.
You think we'll get another cover?
Sign me up. Sign
See,
me up.
I feel like you don't bring Patti LuPone in to do backup, which is what she's been in the 2 songs
Yeah.
they've done so far. I feel like you got to get her own song at some point, so I wonder if she gets a version.
What's the next test going to be in the next costuming? I'm excited.
Oh, I don't know. It depends on who it is. Hey, before we go to the next show, we were talking about how things get spoiled by like toys and other manners.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the episode 1 spoiler that happened
For Star Wars?
for Star Wars episode 1?
Yes, one of my old coworkers told me all about that. That's what I was actually referencing when I said that toys.
Oh, the
spoiled
soundtrack
things
came
before.
out and said what happened.
I think there was like other stuff. Like I don't remember specifically, but
They released
that is one of like the things that people point out.
They
to as
released
being
the
spoiled.
episode 1 soundtrack like a week before the movie came out,
Yeah.
and one of the title tracks was Qui-Gon's death.
Oh, well, that's fun. I mean, I would have probably surmised that as a fan based on like lore. That like, why didn't I ever see Qui-Gon
Right, you know
around
he's got to go at
before?
some point. Yeah,
But then again, I'm also the type that I can sit here and watch Revenge of the Sith, and I'll be like, maybe Anakin won't go bad because I love Anakin so much. And
every
I'll just-
time she does it,
Every
she
time.
sits down to watch that movie,
Every
and
time.
every time she's like, "Well, maybe this time it'll be different."
Circling back to Agatha real quick, we didn't mention that Rio conveniently showed up when Mrs. Hart Sharon passed away, and she's like a green witch,
Yeah.
and they did a spell, and that's how enter Aubrey Plaza back on the scene. Now, some other news for Agatha: the last two, we had said the last episode will debut or drop on October 30th. It's actually we're getting episode 8 and 9 on October 30th, so that'll be a 2-night night before Halloween.
Ending us on an odd
kinda
number of
thing.
episodes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, you know,
I'll see you at
I know,
the
I know it
end.
would be 4 more episodes, but man, at this point with the vibe of the show, they should have went to 13, right?
I need an auto-tune to auto-tune me when I bust out these lyrics for our listeners.
I could probably figure that out. Not tonight, though.
Episode 85. You should see me in a crowd.
Hey, so we watched TV. We watched Agatha All Along.
Speaking of fun,
Speaking of fun, which is actually fun, Agatha All Along.
very good.
Very good.
Best episode of the season so
Best
far.
episode. Episode 5.
Didn't get a banger, but huge reveal. And whoever is doing the in-credit music for this show deserves a raise immediately. So just a reminder to you guys, because we just completely dropped the ball and didn't say it beforehand, like we've been trying to do. That's what happens when we're having so much fun watching WVU lose and we don't have show notes. We are a spoiler podcast. We put those little chapter markers on for you guys. So if you want to skip around, feel free to do so. Probably for Agatha, if you're not caught up with us here, we'll be having a supercut sometime in the next coming months after the season ends. So consider this your final warning. Daniel, what was the big reveal?
Teen, as he has been known on the show so far, is actually Billy Maximoff, a.k.a. Wiccan, a.k.a. Wanda, Scarlet Witch's son.
Yes. And I believe in that scene that the sigil was lifted when Agatha got Alice's powers. I think there's a part where you can see Agatha pointing her hand kind of at her forehead, and then she sort of looks up and she's like, what does she say? You're just like your mother. And then he was like, oh, really? And like sticks Agatha's behind in the mud, pushes her down in the mud. I don't know what he had against Jen and like the other one, Patti LuPone's character. Is it Lila?
I don't know.
Something like that. So they're
Don't
in
ask
the
me
mud.
about names, songs, etc. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, they're in the mud too. And then you see the crown form on Teen's head, very similar to the one Wanda wore, with the Billie Eilish. So Billy for Billy, you should see me in a crown. And I was talking about all week long after the episode. So Agatha airs on Wednesday. So Thursday, Friday, I'm just talking about how great of a song that was. Perfect song choice. I'm sending Daniel edits. We're talking about it. He's like, yeah, that was a really cool scene. And then we are, on Saturday, we're coming back from Target. And I'm playing some, music on my phone. And I'm like, ooh, I'm like into this song again right now because of that scene. And I have Agatha in my head. And Daniel goes, wait a minute. He's like, I thought that she said, you should see me in a crowd. But I always thought that was weird that was the lyrics. And I'm like, did you not understand? Like, the crown showed up on Billy's head as that part of the line.
Made a whole lot more sense after you told me that was what the lyric actually said.
Because you were already
much more
thinking it
sense.
worked.
Yeah.
So sing it. Are you going to sing it or do you want me to sing it?
What, you should see me in a crowd?
In a crowd.
I always was really perplexed. I have heard this song before. Like, I'm familiar with Billie Eilish.
Song.
I like the song. And I was always very perplexed, like, what is the meaning behind that? Because it seems really, like, kind of malicious.
Yeah.
And then to find out it's just a
crown.
It's crown. It's not the first time I've done this. It certainly won't be the last. I have no idea how many other songs am I incorrect? Because that song's not named that, right?
I think it is.
Oh, I mean, that's even worse.
Yes, I just checked. That is the name of the song. You should see me in a crown. Not crowd. Crowd does sound very
You should see me in a crowd.
So, but like the whole time I'm sending you the edits where the crown is appearing on his head, and you were just like, I think you were like, oh, the Billy for Billy song. That was a cool scene. And I'm like, no, the crown. Again, great. Speaking of lyrics where things screwed up, the one that I can always think of, and the woman's own mother used to think this is what she said, Taylor Swift's, like, get a list of my ex-lovers. They'll tell you, like, I'm insane. I used to think that she said, I've got a list of Starbucks lovers. And her mom thought she said Starbucks,
okay,
too.
so that's not what... There's another one right there. So that's not what that lyric said?
It's like something...
I never knew what a Starbucks lover was.
I just rolled with it.
But
her own mom was like... It was like a whole joke back in the day.
Because like, I can't see Taylor Swift meeting people at Starbucks. That doesn't check out.
Probably at least not now because she's so famous. What about Hold Me Close, Young Tony?
I know that one. I'm not an idiot.
What about the blue song that I'm blue, da-ba-dee? I used to think it said, I'm blue, I'm in need of a guy.
They don't say anything, right?
I know, they're just
going
like mumbling stuff.
All right.
Da-ba-dee-ba-da-da.
Okay.
There's probably like a whole like...
Hey,
list.
everybody, if you've got some songs out there that you've done this with, just hit us up on fan mail, let us know, and we will happily laugh at you or admit that we thought that as well, because it seems like I'm a mark for most of these.
Most likely. But anyway, back to that episode. Poor Alice. I knew that she was going to be gone because I had seen the leaks, but I didn't think it'd be so soon.
Yeah. I feel like we'll see her again. Even like, I think she's dead. But I think we will see her again in this.
We better at the end of the road.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the end. I need that to pay off.
I need to round back around to the mud, to the quicksand, and just say that like this show was like giving off millennial coded fears. Like we were all very terrified. We all thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger problem.
I was very scared of that. I was scared of black holes and the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Oh, the Bermuda Triangle was terrifying. Like don't get anywhere in there.
Very much freaked me out.
Turns out like. It's pretty easy to avoid because it's just the ocean.
I guess. I don't know. Let's get back to the episode. How each episode has a different aesthetic. This was like 80s sleepover vibes, and they did the Ouija board. Loved that.
Is it okay? I've always heard people say Ouija board, but then I've always seen it.
That's why I need show notes.
Then I've always seen it spelled with an there's no W in there anywhere.
Like a Ouija board.
So I always thought like it was a nickname for it or something. So it's Ouija board, but it's just spelled that way.
I guess so.
All right.
I don't know. But
I've never used one myself, so.
Back to the 80s aesthetic. Well, you've never been to slumber party before. At least with girls. I don't.
True.
I can't even think. Anyway, I heard that while Catherine Hahn was doing the part where she imitated Sharon, Mrs. Hart, that Aubrey Plaza and I think it was the boy that plays Billy, that you can see them both like trying not to laugh in the scene. So I went and looked at it, and you can tell that they're like, because that's just spot on impression. But it turns out that was just Agatha messing with everybody, and it's Agatha's mommy. Ghost mean lady mommy who was like, you were evil since the moment you were born. So that was kind of a bummer. Obviously Agatha has mommy issues.
Yeah, I saw somebody on TikTok, they did the mommy issues soundbite from Umbrella Academy, but over all the people from Agatha, and it fit really well. It was very good.
It did fit very well. So she also has the Salem 7 after her. What I think we discovered, though, about Agatha's powers is it looked to me like, obviously we know when she started the road, she gets, if somebody uses power against her, she absorbs it. That's why Agatha's so powerful. I feel like, though, in that moment when Alice used her power to save Agatha because Agatha's mother was trying to possess Agatha, I feel like Agatha could not control it. And I'm thinking that might be what kind of went down like back in Salem a long time ago. Like once it happens, she's like, oh, because she kind of like, everyone was really shocked and she seemed almost shocked.
Yeah, she did.
So I do think, though, when the sigil was lifted, when she got that power, that's when she figured out who Teen was. My question is, when she said, you're just like your mother, did that lift it for Teen, or has Billy known the whole time and been playing everybody? What do you think?
I think there was a sigil on him. Who put that sigil on him? Did he put it on himself? I don't know, but I think that prevented him from actually knowing what was going on until that moment. Until
she knew?
Yeah.
So you don't think he's been playing everybody?
I feel like there was a line earlier in the season that basically was like a sigil can be broken once somebody else finds out who you are the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, I think I'd be a little annoyed if he had known the whole time, because I do feel like he is a genuine character, but now all bets are off. Like, and if he has been playing them the whole time, he's done a darn good job at it. I'm of the belief that I think he might have put the sigil on himself because he knew that in order to really get to Agatha, he couldn't reveal too much either. Because obviously they say, did you watch it? Did you watch the TikTok I sent you that had the preview of the next episodes of the season?
I did.
Okay.
There's a lot of, that is a meaty trailer for the rest of the season. Like, there is a lot in there.
If you had any questions at all that it was Billy, as in Wanda's son, they completely answer that. They have like, so what do you want? What does you want from the road? And he basically says like, I don't want power. I want something different, which I think is either to find Wanda, his mother, or possibly his brother, Tommy. Yeah,
it's one of those two, I'd say. You have to think Billy would have, if Tommy is out, if that whatever happened, which the trailer didn't explain, so we don't really know what happened there. But if he got ejected out of the town, Westview, you got to think his brother did.
Well, what a lot of people think is that Billy Kaplan was the one that was driving the car. He wrecked his car right outside of Westview, and in that moment that he wrecked his car and is presumably dead, that's when Wanda did the thing, and the soul of Billy, as in Wanda and Vision's son, went into Billy Kaplan. That's what the big theory is online. And I could see that playing out. I love talking about this show with my nephew because sometimes Daniel's just not into all the TikToks and all the edits. And we have like, so my nephew and I have like weekly like debriefings. And my sister was like, so it's you that's keeping him up on a school night. I'm like, oh, well, maybe not. But like we have to like piece together all the possible theories. I do think you're right, though. I think we will see Alice again, possibly her mother, but she won't be. I don't think she's coming back to life.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll get a wrap up and a happy end to her story, but I don't think we'll see her.
I need to know why Billy put the other 2 witches in the mud, though, when he was mad. Like, why did he react that way? They weren't really doing anything.
That's a good question. I think it will probably be answered.
See, another theory was that they were still all possessed by the ghosts in that last little trial and that they weren't acting like themselves. I'm not really sure about that. The next episode looks to have a very Wizard of Oz-like theme, which I'm excited for.
I feel like he possessed the 2. I feel like they gave us enough on screen to show that he clearly possessed those 2 to have them do what they were doing.
Do we think Nicholas Scratch is one of the members of the Salem 7?
I don't know.
Because what it was that Agatha let like the kids live or something, and they said that's part of it. And she's like, just a reminder, finish the job each time. I did like her little quip when they were like, oh, we need to torture Agatha. That must be the trial. And she's like, this is why I don't have female friends. So just again, I feel like for me, best show since Loki and WandaVision era.
Oh, easily. Probably up there. Like I'd say Loki, WandaVision, this are the best things that Marvel has done on TV. I haven't hated anything that they've done on the TV except for probably Secret Invasion.
Yeah, that fell off.
Like a lot of people seem to just hate everything, but whatever. I don't have the energy to get into that Marvel rant again today.
Episode 86, The Boner Family Reunion.
All right. Well, we are down to 3 episodes left. We're going to get an episode this week, and then we're going to get the last 2 episodes next week, just in time for Halloween. So hopefully it'll be some spooky, scary fun. This previous episode, we really got to learn more about Billy Maximoff. Am I saying his name right?
Yeah, Maximoff.
I always say Maximoff / Billy Kaplan, William Kaplan, and the whole episode was pretty much from his perspective. I saw online that a lot of people were kind of annoyed by that it wasn't like the crew of Agatha, but I think to explain how Wanda's son survived, it did need some explanation, and it provided us with the hilarious scenes of someone else seeing Agatha. We got to see her when she was in her like true detective phase, what it looked like from her point of view, and then you got to see just how insane and crazy she looked from other people's point of view when she was, running around like, you want to poke the bear? It brought some good comedy, but it also brought up some questions. So Billy does make a reference to Rio at one point. You hear him mention her. So I do think he can see her at some point. But do you think that there's been some theories circulating. Do you think that she was around the entire time that we have seen her on screen, or is she also in Agatha's head at that point? And Agatha trying to figure out why she knows this woman.
I think until she showed up on the Witch's Road, that was the first time she actually showed up.
See, now that I would agree with that, but apparently there is a scene which we need to go back and rewatch where Billy does reference her. So I'm not sure. Like he makes note of her.
Okay. Does that mean he was seeing her?
Then why would he? Who is he talking about then?
I don't know.
Interesting.
There's something going on, even beyond like this flashback episode showed us a lot of what we think is going on. But did it? Really? Or is there something else going on?
Well, it answered a lot of questions. He is the Black Heart in the coven. Because his boyfriend made a reference to that, so you could put that together. So now it's further confirmation that like Rio, like she was not supposed to be a part of it. He was always supposed to be a part of it. It explained, I thought, very well how the soul of our Billy went into William Kaplan when he passed away, unfortunately, after his bar mitzvah. I can't say that right. Bar mitzvah. I just want to make sure I was saying it correctly. Because, we sometimes pronounce things wrong. But, like, he had nice parents. It makes me feel sad because, and I feel like our Billy has grown to, like, love these people. But he still had those questions of who is he, what's going on. And Ralph Boner shows up, who played Quicksilver, Wanda's twin brother, but in the X-Men universe, and then they kind of had him come on for WandaVision. He was the basically man that Agatha, aka Agnes, in WandaVision forced to be her husband. And like everybody in Westview has their memories of kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Unless like so Billy is trying to figure out like cuz he just knows there's something going on. He's been trying to put the pieces together. So they meet Ralph in a parking garage, and Ralph is the one that says you need to, talk to Agatha. She's going to know. She's going to have information. And it was just now that people have pointed out like the shirt that Agatha was wearing.
They're going to be selling that shirt, right?
Yeah, that was a Boner Family Reunion. What did it say?
Pitch a tent.
So it's just like tiny little details like that. I'm like, and this is a Disney Plus show too. So that was just comical. And yeah, I liked seeing him again. I guess I didn't expect to see him again. So that was good. We know who put the sigil on Billy.
Yeah, well, we think we know. Again,
it was Lilia.
Lilia. We that's what we saw. But again, I'm reading some stuff from some people that have made some observations that make you wonder if how much of that actually happened.
Yeah.
If it's going to be an illusion inside of an illusion almost.
Ooh, very interesting.
Maybe not. It could be crazy stuff, but they had some good observations.
If that actually happened, then like is Patti LuPone like the whole reason why, Wanda went insane because she couldn't sense, like she sensed that, if she could have sensed that her child was alive, she might have not gone crazy at the end of Doctor Strange. Like, who knows? I have seen some other fans that seemed a little perturbed that when Billy's end goal is revealed as to why he wants to go down the witch's road. And you and I had kind of started piecing that out, that it wasn't for Wanda, it wasn't for Vision, it was to find Tommy, his twin brother. When he woke up out of that coma as, in William Kaplan's body, the first thing he shouted was Tommy. And to the people that are a little confused about that or kind of annoyed, I say, for one, for all he knows that he's pieced together that Wanda is dead. But then there's that twin connection, which Wanda always had with her brother. Wanda would have done the exact same thing. She would have been looking for her brother as well. So I think it honestly fits. And if they go by the comics, he does find Tommy, and then together they do eventually find Wanda, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think most of the fans are just like, they were very sure this was going to bring Wanda back.
And we really do want her to come back.
Yeah, we do. And I don't know that him looking for Tommy and not Wanda is like first of all, there's no guarantee that he finds Tommy at the end. He might find Wanda instead. It might be a bad thing. Yeah. We don't know. Bad for who? Agatha, maybe. So like, I don't understand what people are upset about. To be
I think
honest.
it makes sense.
I think it's weird
because Wanda would have done the exact same thing. Now, I do think we had some questions about Billy's boyfriend. I think that we might be stretching there. We were like, what if he's Nicholas Scratch? What if he's so-and-so? I think he might just be an average, normal teenager just helping his boyfriend out, and that we're reading way too much into that. I do think Nicholas Scratch is going to come into play these last 3 episodes. But I'm excited. I'm excited for more.
I'm a little disappointed that it's coming to a close, but the last 2 episodes coming at the same night gets excited. That means we got at least probably hour and a half of fun times to watch, and we'll see how it all wraps up.
Yeah.
One thing.
Well, we have 3 episodes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So we got this week, but then we got the last 2 are basically one big episode there at the end. One thing of note that I think was really interesting was that trailer we got before last week's episode. Mm-hmm. They basically burnt out everything that was in that trailer.
Yeah.
In the episode that we just got,
we
that
haven't
we're talking
seen all
about
of
tonight.
it. We don't know.
Most of it was in there though.
We haven't had the Wizard of Oz stuff yet, and I think that's going to be a Lilia.
So we really, the last
episode.
3 episodes have seen nothing.
Yeah.
Previewed nothing of what's going to happen. So I'm interested to see what kind of characters show up. A lot of Marvel fans are always on this like Mephisto train. He's a villain that they are really interested in.
Him.
They did name drop him, so I would be interested to know if maybe he is behind some of this. Certainly, I think Wanda showing up is a stretch unless it's like a really big wink and a nod. But like Elizabeth Olsen is not going to be in the show.
I really did like that last interaction between Agatha and Billy, and she's like, "It's good to see you again."
Yeah.
Like, and she did have some tears in her eyes, which I think could partially be because, she was starting to suspect, but that was the absolute confirmation that was not her son. But I also think maybe it's just me trying to reach that maybe I'm not cared for is not the right word, but a little bit of fondness, a little bit of like proud that he would go to these lengths. I don't know, some pride there. I thought that was funny. and not funny, but like just cute. What do you think about that? I
Yeah.
like the way they did the scene. You could have it open to interpretation, in my opinion.
It is really interesting to me watching this show because before this show, Wanda was, or not Wanda, but Agnes was a villain in WandaVision. And you kind of see this show and you're like, okay, they're going to try and do a little turn. I don't think they are.
I don't want to go back in the closet
I
again.
think she might end up just being a straight up villain by the end of this show. And, you know, opposed to Billy and Tommy, maybe if they end up finding him or Wanda. And kind of just that it's a real gray area.
But that's why I was saying, like, that it wasn't maybe so much that she cared for him with the tear, but it was almost like a pride. Like, hey, I'm impressed by what you did.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Like, that's kind of like just that moment between them. But yeah, I don't think she has to necessarily be good, but I do think we have seen moments of humanity from her. Like, I think that it's evident that sometimes she can't control her powers when she takes the powers from others. She clearly has mommy issues, which we've seen. Of course. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. If this whole Witches Road thing has been a whole big illusion, I think that'll be a little bit out of pocket, and I'm going to want some good explanation other than, what's his name? Mephisto?
Mephisto, yeah.
Like, I'm going to need more than like, oh, haha, that's what he did. Like, they're going to have to actually, like, you know, I think that'd be sloppy, I guess, if they just up and did that without very little explanation or showing. Like, that would kind of irritate me as a fan.
Sure. Although they did get onto the road very easy.
Yeah, because they were all meant to be there.
I guess.
Which we got more of that song. We actually got Lorna's version because Billy was listening to it.
So we have 3 versions now?
Basically, yes.
So
we just need the whole album.
Yeah, we do.
Episode 87, The Donkey Budget.
But do you want to go down the Witch's Road?
It seems dangerous.
Down, down,
and
down
more importantly,
the road.
Is it real?
I don't know. All right, let's just jump right into it. Agatha All Along. After this episode, we have the 2 more episodes, which will be the finale. That is dropping on October 30th, just in time for Halloween. So this is kind of that episode to the build-up. And we pick up the last episode. We kind of got to learn about, you know, William,
Yep.
Billy Kaplan.
Kind of a flashback episode. This is episode 7, by the way. We're talking about episode 8 and 9 are both, like Hope said, is coming out on the 30th. Yeah. Very good episode.
Excellent episode. So we pick back up. We know, like we said, Billy's origin now. He and Agatha are on the road. We do see that Lilia and Jen are alive.
Yes.
They're kind of on their own journey. And this was the very Lilia played by the amazing, who I'm so glad Gen Z and more people know about, Patti LuPone. I want her to get an Emmy for this role. Come on. So there was her centric episode. So it was kind of not exactly linear because how she sees time is not exactly linear. So you do have some jumping about and a lot of where she'd like randomly spout something off like, Alice, don't try to save Agatha. And she would like shout and stuff, like all that. We find out why. And we got even a background of her as a child with her coven. Kind of like basically she couldn't save them back then. We also had the death comes for us all. She figures out she is the one that put the sigil on Billy. So all of that is happening. And each of the characters, it's kind of like, it wasn't just Wizard of Oz theme like I thought it was going to be. Like they were each kind of like a different type of villain.
Yeah.
So we had, obviously Agatha was the Wicked Witch. Her sister was a witch. Lilia looked like the Glenda type.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looked like Jen was, like, to me, did I read this right? Like the old, like the evil queen from Snow White,
Snow
but
White.
without,
Yeah, I think that,
like the potions
Yeah.
and the beauties.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And then Billy just killed it, his look with Maleficent. Iconic. So that was what each of them were. And the kind of like they had to use tarot cards. That was this version of the trial that they had to go through. And that's obviously Lilia's specialty. So we had it jump around a little bit, kind of like figure out where she was in time. And once you pieced out what they were doing in the episode, I thought it was like brilliantly done.
I thought they did a really good job with it. I will respect the fact that they didn't hold. I mean, they went slow enough that I think most people are going to be able to follow it once they kind of pick up on what's going on. But they didn't do some of the more hand-holdy stuff that they could have done with an episode like that where they're jumping around as often as they're jumping around. And I do respect that. I think they did a good job. I think they did a good job of mixing the elements of what you're seeing in her life, where she has essentially been jumping through time. She's been jumping through her life, all her life, essentially, to mixing that in with the episode, and I thought it did a really good job. We got another pretty major reveal in this episode, which, of course, we already all knew about because thanks, Funko Pop.
Funko Pop spoiled it, and I think we did mention it the first time we talked about Agatha, and then we kind of stopped talking about it because, we're if anything, we're consistently not consistent. I don't know, but even though we knew from Funko, that's how good was that reveal anyway. It almost makes me very angry that Funko revealed it because I think we would have pieced it together. But even knowing it, and I feel like most people, at least the hardcore Agatha fans that are like doing theories and stuff, knew it and all agree. Amazing. Rio, she is Death.
Lady Death. Major.
Death comes for us all.
Not just for this show, but this is a major MCU like comic book character.
She is the OG Green Witch. She is who Thanos. The whole reason, I guess, in the comics why Thanos did the snap
was just to impress her.
Would you do that just for Aubrey Plaza?
I'm going to
tread lightly.
Plead the fifth.
Okay. And then obviously Agatha's known that because Billy was kind of like, really? And she's like, what can I say? I like him bad. Agatha had some good one-liners this episode.
Yeah, she did.
I like you want straight answers, ask a straight person or something, or a straight woman.
Yeah.
And then some people are a little upset about one thing that I do want to address where she's talking about I was your mom's best friend. And he's like, I have a mom, referring to William's mom. And I think people need to, one, understand that he does, I feel like they're indicating that he does have some of William's memories, but also, even if he didn't, Billy has spent more time now with these people, and they seem to me, and I would hate it if they would make something wrong with them, they seem to me like they're pretty chill, really nice, loving, supportive parents. So of course he's going to consider that his mother, and he thinks Wanda's dead.
Yeah, and I think, to me, the telling part, when he sat down, at first he thought he was the one that had to do the tarot cards reading.
Yeah.
It turned out it needed to be Lilia that did that to read herself. But when he first sat down, they were ask a good question. And his very first, once he got to the good question, it's, am I William or am I Billy?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of conflict in his mind. And that tells me that there is something else going on here. It also makes me think that now that we have the reveal of Aubrey Plaza's character, Lady Death, she's after him because she's owed a body.
Yes.
And he is inhabiting the one that she was supposed to take. I think that's what I think that's going to be the final conflict. Is Agatha has been playing kind of been very but at the end of the episode, I think Agatha is going to end up in conflict with Lady Death over Billy's.
Well, Lilia gave the final warning before she kind of, which we'll get to in a minute, kind of pieced out. She was just like, hey, watch out. I think that as much as we would like to see the Agatha Rio kind of romance, I think Rio's the final boss.
Yes, of this
road,
yes.
of this witch's road.
If the witch's road is real.
Yeah, if the witch's road is real at all. So let's go ahead and address that. There is a major theory going on TikTok that actually I think has some plausibility.
I agree.
Is that when Wanda created Westview, one of the things that I liked about it was it basically each episode was almost like a sitcom trope, like a Full House type thing, like an I Love Lucy type thing. And we find out that's because when Wanda was a little girl, she would watch these sitcoms.
Yeah.
And that was put in her memory. Well, Billy, as many astute folks have pointed out, he has a poster of the Wizard of Oz in his room, for example. There's even this comment about where Mrs. Hart Sharon thought that underneath the Witch's Road would just be the old abandoned subway system, which we see in this episode. And there's just little nuggets that people have pointed out, what if, and he might not even be realizing he's doing it because Wanda wasn't fully cognizant, from my understanding, right, at first, exactly what she was doing.
And more importantly, and she had some control over her powers. He, as far as we know, with the sigil having basically blocked out his ability to really understand what's happening, like we don't even know how much control he truly has, because we saw in the episode when it was revealed that he was able to use his power, but immediately after that he wasn't.
Exactly.
And so he has very limited control over what's going on.
So a lot of people think that he is doing what Wanda did, and he is creating this version of the Witch's Road that is bringing all of them in there. And they've even pointed out some scenes where Agatha is kind of like just kind of looking at him, like she's picked up.
Yeah,
on
she
it.
looks around at stuff, and because
picks up
supposedly
the dirt in the beginning.
She has walked the Witch's Road
Yes.
before, and she's commented, and she keeps looking around as if to say, "This isn't what it looked like." Whereas he said, "It's exactly as I pictured it."
Yes. Now, if they don't go that way and that doesn't pan out and it really is the Witch's Road, I'm fine with that as well. But I do think that theory, I think that for all the crazy theories they have on TikTok, I think that one holds some weight.
Mm-hmm.
Because Wanda was able to suck everybody in, so he would be able to do the same thing. And he is, as you said, he's trying to learn to use those powers. Like at one point, when Lilia does come back, like he's answering her questions before she's asking them because he's reading her mind. And I think like there's that conflict within him. So with the whole Lilia of it all, she was able to get out of that trial, but ultimately she did sacrifice herself.
Yes.
She said, I loved being a witch, and that's where I was just like crying, and because I loved her.
Some people have suggested that she made a deal with Rio that we didn't get to see. That she said, "Hey, I'll deliver you myself plus the Salem 7.
Yes, because she did get them.
Yeah, if you leave Billy alone."
So what she did was she had where they had the whole thing back to his William's bar mitzvah, where the whole fallen tower that related to this trial, and then the swords that were like coming out of the ceiling if they got stuff wrong. Basically, she used those to attack the Salem 7.
Yeah,
to
she
get
flipped
them
it.
off their
They all
backs.
went down. They all got stabbed and impaled. We're assuming that's the end of them. And then she also fell and got that too. But we got that great little teaser at the end, which again, her greatest curse of her life, the fact that she is phasing basically in and out of different timelines along her life, also turns out to be her salvation, because essentially what it alluded to in my mind is that she kind of is forever living in that time loop that she's in.
Do you think she figured it out as a child, how she could have saved her coven? Like, how does time work? Now that she knows it, can she go back and save them?
Oh, does it? Well, then the TVA is going to get involved because she's created a separate
she already
timeline.
put in the sigil in Billy, and Wanda couldn't smell him. Already basically created the multiverse of madness. So do with that what you will. But I just thought it was a very well done episode. Patti LuPone knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, she did. She was good.
I just love that she has a new crew of fans. I'm really excited to see where these next 2 episodes go. Do you have any just predictions, or I'm along for the ride. I want it to be awesome.
I'm enjoying the ride. I think at this point, I'm going to say I think the Wanda showing up meter might have increased just slightly. I don't know why.
Really?
I don't know why I feel this.
Your spidey senses
I think that just something is going on, and I think, boy, it would be a major thing for them to keep under wraps if they did something.
Huge.
But I think that my chances that Wanda are showing up at the end of this series have gone up. The chance that somebody like Mephisto shows up have gone down. I think with what
about Tommy?
Zero. I think with what they've done with Death and how they've revealed her here in this last episode, she is the big bad of the series, and I don't think we'll see Mephisto or some other villain pop in.
So what about Nicholas Scratch? Do you think all that's just kind of off the table?
I think that's the tragedy of Agatha, is that I think he's gone.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything that can be done about it.
All right. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait. I really feel that Agatha All Along is right up there with WandaVision, and it might surpass Loki for me, depending on how the finale goes, the last 2 episodes, but it is right there with Loki and then Agatha All Along and WandaVision, kind of like in that tie spot for my favorite Marvel TV shows.
Yeah, it's definitely good. It hasn't surpassed Loki for me yet. Although and of course, my opinion is I consider this season 2 of WandaVision.
Kind of hand in hand.
For me, this is season 1, season 2, and so what we've got here is Loki season 1 and season 2, and WandaVision, Agatha All Along season 1, season 2 are really strong. And it's funny because I've seen so much criticism recently of Marvel and the TV shows, but I think these are 2 really good TV shows, and they also seem like they matter.
And Agatha's knocking it out of the park.
Yeah,
It's like doing
and-
so
and
well.
it just-
costs like the least amount.
Yeah,
right?
that's
to,
the
like,
best part.
produce.
I'm hoping, again, it's one of those things where it's like, here's a thing that's happening that's really good. TV studio, I hope you learned the right lesson from this.
I mean, anything you put Catherine Hahn in, I'm going to just love Mother Hahn. She is so good. I obviously, and I really like that she and Aubrey Plaza, who were on Parks and Rec together, but they didn't have a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
And they've kind of talked about that they've enjoyed like having scenes together in this show. Do we think we're going to see some of the other witches at the end of the road? Like, I'll see you at the end.
Oh, I think we'll get like some sort of montage.
I
They'll
hope
all be
so.
there. Yeah, I think that's the case.
And we finished out our conversation about Agatha All Along Season 1 in Episode 88, Hot Frosty.
But we finished Agatha All Along and Only Murders in the Building Season 4. So I say we kick things off with Agatha All Along.
Okay.
And I'm going to just say one more time, even though I'm not a good singer.
Oh, boy.
If I can't reach you, let my song teach you. Ah, The Witch's Road. Love every version of it. I need that album.
I had it in my... Did I already order it? I don't even know. It may or may not be here soon.
might
I have
show
no
up.
idea. For reference, we are referring, of course, to Agatha All Along on Disney Plus, the final 2 episodes, 8 and 9. We never talked about either of them.
Yes, because we were on our trip to see the seasons change at Disney and run races.
Yeah.
So what'd you think?
So I was interested to know why they released 8 and 9 together on the same day. I now know why they did, and I think that was the right decision.
Yeah.
I think it would have been really, really weird to leave where they left episode 8. And then, and episode 9 kind of needed, they really honestly could have just been one long episode.
That's kind of how I'm thinking of it, as one big long finale. I felt like it made sense to do it right before Halloween.
Yeah.
And then I'm basically considering these 2 episodes are like Infinity Wars Endgame. Like kind of like
Okay.
basic. I
All
think
right.
of that as like
Okay.
one big movie. I'm thinking of this as like one big
Oh,
finale.
and for anybody who hasn't watched it, this is your final warning. We're a spoiler podcast. We're about ready to dig in and go to it. So, the 8th episode ends with Agatha dying. And the 9th episode picks up, and basically the entirety of the 9th episode is a flashback, except for like the last, 15 minutes or so?
She died at
give
the
or
end of
take?
the 8th episode?
Yeah. Yes. All of that resolution of the Witch's Road takes place at the end of the 8th episode.
Oh, and,
And
then
then
she's like, okay.
The 9th episode picks up, and it's flashback to her.
See, that's why I'm thinking of it as one big episode.
Yeah, exactly. It is that flashback to her in the woods giving
With her
birth
son,
to
yeah.
her son, and we see
I
all
made
that
you
stuff
from scratch.
that goes down with her and Death, Aubrey Plaza's character there at the end, and it was great. I really liked it. There were a couple things that bothered me about it. I felt like it's a bold move to go with your finale episode basically to be a whole flashback. I know why they did it, because I said it from early on in the season. It was Agatha all along.
And it was.
She made the Witch's Road up, and what they were showing us in the beginning of that finale episode was her and why she made up the song of the Witch's Road and the whole theory of it.
Mystique.
And then you start to see the teen, who we now know is Billy, realizing that the Witch's Road we saw throughout this season was a manifestation of his magic that he
Yes.
didn't even realize he was doing. And then, so great, fine, awesome, excellent stuff. And then suddenly he turns around in his room, and there's Agatha back as a ghost.
So,
And I hated it.
why did you hate that part?
I didn't like the ghost effect on her. I thought it looked weird and goofy.
But
I feel like...
Did you think that Doctor Strange looked weird and goofy with the eye thing from his most recent movie? Because that looked ridiculous. And
Is
that
this,
had a
is
way
this
bigger,
your big, is
that
this
had
your
a way
big
bigger
comeback moment
budget.
that you've been telling me?
Yes, it is.
Because absolutely,
You defend that movie.
absolutely, I thought Doctor Strange's third eye looked stupid and ridiculous. So you're not getting back at me on it. The ghost thing,
They had way more budget, though, for the Doctor Strange movie. Agatha doesn't have, like, the least budget of any Marvel
Yeah.
show.
But the more to the point than just what I thought was the effect didn't look great. I feel like it's also cheating a little bit. Like, we've built up this character of death who's supposed to be like, death comes for death comes for us all, except she's a ghost now, so she can avoid it. It felt a little too easy of a way to keep the character of Agatha around.
Like, I felt like it made sense. Okay, so I'm gonna jump back and give you my opinion now. The ghost thing aside, back to what you said about that. I thought the 8th episode was crazier than the 9th episode. Like, that's where all the action went down. That's where, we have Jen still around, and she managed to escape the road that we now know was created by another Maximoff.
And she thinks it's real. She has no reason to believe it wasn't anything but real. Yeah, she beat the road. And she got her powers back.
Yeah, she got her powers back because we find out that it was actually Agatha that had taken her powers years and years ago. So there was that reveal. And then there was the reveal of what does Billy want from the road. That's obviously to find Tommy. And then there is this, Agatha's, helping him, telling him kind of, what to do. And we do see a scene with another boy who we don't see a face of, that he could, help Tommy's, mind get into that body, similar to what he did. So we have that whole element. Then we have the element at the end with we find out that Death is absolutely after Billy because she feels like he literally cheated Death, and she's basically telling Agatha, if you she tries to cut a deal with Agatha, you give him to me, I'll lay off you. And then at one point you think Agatha and Billy are going to work together, but then it looks like she's going to keep her deal with Death. I think Agatha, and that's what makes Agatha so complicated and such a great character, because I do think she does have affection for Billy and that she cares for him in a way, but also she's, at the end of the day, she's going to be self-serving, so she will stab you in the back, but she's almost proud of him because she knew this proved everything. She knew the entire time that, because she, like you said, the witch's road is crap, it's not real. She had made up the whole thing, so she knew from the moment the door opened and they were going on the road that she's like, oh great, another Maximoff hex that I'm into. But she was just I'm just gonna roll with it. So she knew all along, because it was Agatha ultimately all along. So I liked that angle. I did like how he showed up to kind of help get Agatha's powers back, and he's like, don't take it off for me. And then you have that part where you think they're gonna backstab each other again, but then he does mention Nicholas Scratch, and she and Death do share a very hot kiss.
Yeah, but it was a trick.
It was a trick, but it was it was more than I thought we were gonna get. So
for sure,
bravo. The chemistry off the charts, as people have said, and we've mentioned before, the sexiest Marvel couple. Maybe not the hottest, but the sexiest. And then, like you said, Agatha ultimately does die, but then becomes a ghost, which I thought that, that's a way to keep Agatha around. Of course, Agatha would not go to the beyond. She's not ready. She's not ready to face her son. She's going to do whatever she can. So I think it makes perfect sense that Agatha would be a ghost. I do agree that she looked a little silly in her ghost form, but not any dumber than Doctor Strange looked with that third eye. And the flashback episode, I do agree with you. That was a bold choice to come from the craziness of episode 8 to kind of come down.
Well, you see episode 8 and you're like, whoa, wait, we have one left. What are we going to do?
It was like a tone shift. It was just so amped up in episode 8. And then that 9th episode was just so much calmer.
Yeah, it lingered quite a bit.
But you did
in a good way. It was a good lingering, but it was really a momentum was a very different. It had momentum, but it was different.
It was just very much of just because like I said, the last one was just chaos. But I think it worked. We got to really see how Nicholas Scratch, his name's just I made you from scratch. There's some theories online about that, but we know that, Death tries to come for her baby in the very beginning. She's like, I'll give you some more time. So he's actually the inventor of the Witch's Road song.
I felt to a certain extent, Death didn't. She said, all I can give you is time. It felt very much like Death didn't want to, but didn't have a choice. Duh.
She didn't want to. She never wanted to.
So I think as angry as Agatha is about it, I think that some of that is misplaced because you're dating Death. What exactly are you expecting out of this relationship?
What's a common thing people always do? They always shoot the messenger.
Sure.
So the entire time, you can tell that I don't even think she necessarily wanted to get Billy. It's just part of her job as Death. And it was really sweet to me the way you can tell when she did take him, and they were asleep, she's like, go hug your mom. Like, did you notice that?
Yeah.
So we got I was kind of hoping we'd get a little more insight into their relationship, which we did not. But I think for the sake of time, if they do a season 2, I think you can absolutely dive into that. But as I was saying, it was actually Nicholas Scratch that wrote the song, The Witch's Road, because he would sing it, and then Agatha kind of took her grief and remembered that song and came up with this whole scheme, and that's how we find out that she was taking the powers from the other witches. Because when Billy is confronting her about it, he's like, I can't believe I actually killed, like, what do you say? I actually killed Sharon. She's like, who's Sharon again?
Yeah, that was,
so you got that joke again. Great. Awesome. And Lilia, and she's like, well, actually, she's like, I was going to kill them all, so you ended up saving, some of them. It kind of like, you think about the whole Witch's Road lore, though, and like how Alice's mom did the Lorna's version to kind of protect them from the curse, and then you find out it's all crap because it was ultimately what? What was it?
Agatha.
All Alone. I thought it was a great finale. I thought the series, just in thinking of the series, I have not been that excited for a Marvel series or movie in quite some time, probably since Loki, if I'm being honest. Like, I did think the most recent Guardians of the Galaxy movie, while being a huge bummer, I did think that was really good. But I'd say that this is right up there for me. Like, it is probably I'm going to say it's honestly, I think it's my favorite. Like, even over Loki and WandaVision. I like the spooky element of it. I loved it. I loved the cast, which obviously, because some people did die on Billy's fake Witch's Road. We won't get that entire cast again. I hope they do a second one, or that they find a way to have some third type of season where Billy's going after Tommy and like Agatha's kind of still hanging around, because those two have good banter and fun together. And I want more. I want more of that from Marvel.
The word I've seen is they're doing a show called Vision Quest next, which is about the white version of Vision, which is the real Vision. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Billy and his brother resurrected and Agatha will probably sneak their way into that one, and that will kind of like be the closing chapter of this series, which I consider just one show, but they have different.
And didn't
names.
Kevin say that there are plans to bring Wanda back at some point, or is that still?
There's rumors all over the internet right now. It is, in my opinion, almost guaranteed that she will return in some form or fashion throughout the next few Avengers movies, probably playing a big role up against or with Doctor Doom.
I love Wanda, and I was hopeful that we would see her in this series, but probably by about episode 2 or 3, I'm like, I don't think we're seeing Wanda. I was like, I think the goal, if that is Billy, like, I think it's going to be to find Tommy. And I know in the comics, the two of them, they do find Wanda together. And I think there were some fans that were very disappointed that we didn't get to see Wanda at the end and felt a little ripped off. But I felt like, I don't think, like, it wasn't the show. That's not her show.
No, I think they've got to learn too that, like, the same way that the Phase 1 of the MCU started out and then ended with Endgame, you got to let this stuff slow burn.
Yeah.
Like, the emotional impact, I think, will be a lot bigger if once the brothers are reunited and they've done all this stuff and they've fought their way through, and then there she is suddenly at the end. I think there will be a bigger payoff than if she had just randomly showed up here at the end of this series. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I hope they do. I want more. I want to see Agatha again. Catherine Hahn knocked that role out of the park. I want more.
They need to find a way for her to, like, incorporate a little bit better and just be regular Catherine Hahn. And because if she's the floaty, part see-through ghost the entire time she's back, that's not gonna work for me.
Well, I mean, maybe she can make another deal with Death, and she can use her feminine wiles to get that to happen. Or, they are witches. Maybe there's some kind of spell that they can do.
Yeah. They can hand wave that to make it easier. No question.
Can you give me a down, down,
No.
down, down, down the witch's road? You don't want to sing? Yeah. Are you just going to let me sing it all the time? Forever and ever?
I'm
I like
hoping
all
that
versions.
I'm hoping that it'll let up at some point, but
I don't think it will.
I'm not sure it's ever going to.
Especially if we get that album. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.